If you're experiencing anxiety, you may notice that you may actually be unsure about how to approach drinking alcohol. And so you may notice that, when you're experiencing physical symptoms from anxiety, maybe intrusive thoughts, feelings of unreality, if you drink alcohol, it may help you feel better in the moment, but you may notice something interesting happen, which is you'll experience more anxiety the next day. There's actually a term for that. The term that we kind of coined was the anxiety rebound effect, where you feel even more anxiety the next day. And this can really throw people off. People are unsure why their anxiety just got more and more aggravated. And so they're wondering, can I ever drink? Is that a good idea? And there's a lot of conversation about, avoiding alcohol when it comes to anxiety. What I really want to do is demystify it and kind of go deeper and really help you understand, is that something you want to do or not? Because there's a lot of misunderstandings too behind this. But if you just focus on a few principles, you can really make that decision for yourself and really approach recovery and living your life as normal as possible. So pay attention. So when people are focused on recovery, when I'm guiding people to recovery, I always let them know this idea called setbacks. This idea of setback is this notion that you are doing better, your anxiety is dissipating, but then all of a sudden you may notice it's like all your anxiety came back at once. Like literally all of it just came back at once, and it's almost feels like you didn't make any progress. A lot of times setbacks happen for whatever reason. It's kind of irrelevant, but a few reasons anxiety setbacks happen. And again, the term setback is kind of unique. In a weird way, I like it, but I also don't like the term. If an individual, let's say, gets sick, like a common cold, they'll notice that their anxiety flares up. I'll also notice when people work out, especially when they do weight training, their anxiety may flare up the next day. And the third thing is alcohol, where if they drink, even if it's a modest amount, the next day they will experience even more anxiety. So what most individuals actually end up doing is, well, if they notice that they drink alcohol and it makes them feel better a little bit, the next day they notice that they experience a rebound anxiety, and so they're like, oh my God, I don't want to drink. Now look, this video isn't for individuals that use alcohol as a way to escape their anxiety. That's a bad idea, and it's a surefire way to have two problems, anxiety and a drinking issue, and that this video is definitely not for that. This video is more about individuals that aren't really sure how to go about this. When they drink, their anxiety kind of flares up. So are they ever going to drink again? How is that really going to be approached? And so what happens is with these individuals that they drink and then they feel the rebound effect the next day. Now, this rebound effect happens because what happens is your nervous system is sensitized. And so small basic things, what I mean by sensitization is your nervous system is sensitive. Small stressors, small triggers will make it respond in an over-exaggerated manner. And so one of the stressors that can be there is drinking alcohol. And so what it does is that it kind of throws your body off. And normal individuals that aren't struggling with anxiety, well, they can kind of bounce back. But individuals that are struggling with anxiety, they may notice that their body just overreacts with intense anxiety. And so one of the things to understand is while you're sensitized, when you're focused on recovery, the body actually will react not just with alcohol, but any stressor in an exaggerated way. Now, that being said, should you avoid alcohol? And the answer to that, in my personal opinion, and this is my opinion guiding people fully through recovery, is if you're gonna avoid alcohol, do it for health reasons. Don't do it because of your anxiety. Because the truth is that if you're using it as a way to avoid the anxiety, anytime you avoid the anxiety, it always makes it worse. You're still kind of a slave to the anxiety. And the truth is, the reason why people suffer for so long is because they're avoiding their anxiety. Now, that being said, look, there's a fine balance here, right? This video is a little bit nuanced. Like, anxiety does cause I would say alcohol does create anxiety. But if you're focused on recovery, the focus on recovery isn't to avoid the anxiety. The focus on recovery is, well, there's nothing to avoid. Even if it's anxiety, okay, cool. The problem is that the anxiety ends up getting stronger and happening more frequently because people are avoiding. So what it tells his nervous system is that there's a threat. And so what the nervous system does is that it starts generalizing and it starts experiencing anxiety in all these other situations. So if you're gonna avoid drinking, do it for health reasons, do it for personal reasons. Doing it just for anxiety is not enough of a reason, and it may be another sophisticated form of coping. Now, that being said, if you do decide to drink, well, just recognize and be aware of the fact that you may experience some rebound anxiety the next day. And so what do? Well, there's nothing to do. If you feel a little bit of rebound anxiety, feel it. That's okay. Respond correctly. It's not about feeling the anxiety, it's about how do you respond. Ironically enough, if you respond to the anxiety actually ends up going away long term. It doesn't go away in that moment, but it goes away long term. This is more long term focused. So, if you're unsure, if you're really not sure, then, well, go back to living, and if that means having a couple of drinks in moderation, that's totally fine, but notice that you may be experiencing some rebound anxiety, and that's okay. Now, if the rebound anxiety is too intense and you're too sensitized, and if you feel like you don't want to do it for now, that's okay. You can back off and then try again. A lot of individuals end up saying, well, I don't want to avoid, and so I don't want to drink, I will end up having a drink or so. There's a fine line, right? Like if the rebound anxiety is too intense, then hold off for a little bit and then try again. There's nothing to prove here. The idea is just to live your life. But if you're a little bit too sensitized, back off, try again later. But just notice that you'll experience rebound anxiety. And that's not just with alcohol, that's with a lot of other stressors, like I mentioned, working out, getting a cold. That doesn't necessarily mean you avoid them. That just means as long as you're aware and you understand how this works, then, well, the shock value isn't there. And the shock value isn't there, you don't respond in fear. So if you want to know a little bit more really how to overcome anxiety, how to really focus on long-term freedom, what I'll do is I'll put a link down below to my private Facebook group. In this group, I'm taking people by the hand and I'm taking them step by step to recovery. One of the reasons why I make videos like this is because these are the questions that are asked within the community. And so when I see enough people asking this question, I recognize, hey, I should probably do a video on this. So the link is down below. When you hit the link, it's going to ask you 3 questions. It's very important that you answer those 3 questions to the best of your ability. We want people in the group, but we also want to maintain the integrity of the group. We don't want this to be a random forum where people are story topping each other and asking for coping tricks and stuff like that. It was really focused on long-term freedom. So if that's you, hit the link, fill out those 3 questions, and I'll see you guys inside.